We've been happily married for 43 years, right?
Yes, dear.
Guilty or not guilty? What do you say?
Guilty.
Guilty.
In a world where courtrooms are often seen as cold and strict, Judge Frank Caprio stood out. His kindness, humor, and compassion turned normal cases into unforgettable moments. Today, we look back at some of his best courtroom stories that touched millions around the world. Let's begin.
I wish you all the best. I wish the best for your son, and I wish you good health.
In Providence, Rhode Island, 96-year-old Victor Colella appeared in Judge Frank Caprio's courtroom after being cited for speeding. His case would later become one of the most emotional and viral moments from Caught in Providence. Victor had been pulled over for driving over the speed limit. Normally, it was a routine traffic violation, but his advanced age and circumstances made the situation unusual. The police officer who stopped him issued a speeding ticket, noting the violation without any resistance. It wasn't a complicated investigation, just a straightforward traffic stop, documented and forwarded to the court. In court, Victor explained to Judge Caprio that he had been rushing because he was taking his 63-year-old son. He said,
"I was going to the blood work for my boy. He's handicapped."
His explanation transformed what seemed like a simple traffic case into a deeply human story. Victor wasn't recklessly endangering others for selfish reasons. His motive was love and urgency as a father caring for his ill son. He said, "I only drive when I have to." This distinguished his case from typical speeding offenses. Judge Caprio, visibly moved, showed compassion. While official records don't clearly state the exact fine or penalty, reports indicate that he showed leniency and dismissed the fine, taking into account the humanitarian context. The courtroom fell silent as Victor spoke. Judge Caprio was deeply touched, telling him he admired his devotion as a father. The video clip went viral, earning millions of views and bringing viewers to tears worldwide. Later, when Victor passed away at the age of 101, Judge Caprio shared a heartfelt tribute, honoring him as a friend and honoring his memory. A father's love turned a speeding ticket into one of the most emotional moments ever seen. However, our next story demonstrates how honesty, even when nervous, can transform everything.
Hey, I'm a student, and I'm poor, and I'm sorry.
Wait a minute. Inspector Quinn.
A nervous motorist, a restricted parking spot, and a shocking confession in Judge Frank Caprio's courtroom. This is the story of Carrie Hopkins, a young woman who found herself in Judge Frank Caprio's courtroom for what seemed like a simple parking violation. Carrie had parked her car in a restricted area. After it was towed, she followed the towing company's advice rather than her own better judgment. They suggested she appear in court, claim she was a struggling student, and try to avoid the fine. Nervous and uncertain, Carrie confessed this to Judge Caprio. There was no long investigation like in a criminal case, but the courtroom atmosphere felt tense. Judge Caprio carefully listened, watching her body language and hearing her confession. He quickly realized Carrie wasn't a troublemaker. She was just a nervous young woman, caught in a situation she didn't fully understand. The most surprising moment came when Carrie revealed the towing company's instructions. Instead of trying to hide it, she openly told the judge what she had been told to do. She said,
I was told when I got my car back from the towing company that if I went to court, presented myself, and said, hey, I'm a student and I'm poor.
Her honesty, even if it worked against her, was what stood out the most. Carrie had no bad intentions. She wasn't trying to trick the court or disrespect the law. She simply followed advice because she didn't know any better. At the heart of it, her motive was innocence mixed with nervousness. Judge Caprio made his decision. He saw through the situation and realized this young woman had been misled. Instead of penalizing her, he dismissed the fine completely. The judge later said,
You paid enough money for the tow. I'm not going to charge you anything for the ticket.
Thank you so much.
She left the courtroom without paying a penny. This case wasn't about punishment, but about understanding and the value of honesty. Carrie's nervous truthfulness turned what could have been a stressful penalty into a heartwarming moment of kindness. Carrie's honesty won the judge's heart, but the next case reveals a mother's desperate struggle, where survival, not excuses, was the reason she broke the law.
I ate a lot of those nights running away from somebody that used to chase me with my daughter.
In Judge Frank Caprio's courtroom, every case feels like more than just a legal matter. It's a story about people. On this particular morning, a struggling single mom named Gladys Rodriguez stood before the judge. She was facing a hefty $350 fine, and from the start, it seemed like the judge was ready to be strict. Gladys had been caught speeding, and to the court it appeared to be just another traffic violation. But behind that ticket was a heartbreaking story. She wasn't racing down the road for fun. She was running from her abusive ex, trying to protect herself and her child. There wasn't a full police investigation into this case like a crime story. Instead, Judge Caprio became the one asking the questions. He wanted to know why Gladys was speeding and what had led her to this moment. As she explained her situation, the courtroom quickly realized this was not a simple case of breaking the law. At first, Judge Caprio's tone was tough. He even asked,
Gladys, what are we going to do with you? What are we going to do with you?
but as she opened up about her struggles being a single mother, escaping mistreatment, and trying to rebuild her life, the atmosphere in the courtroom completely shifted. The tension melted into empathy. Gladys wasn't speeding out of carelessness. Her motive was survival. She was a mother doing everything she could to keep herself and her child safe while managing the heavy weight of life's challenges. Instead of making her pay the full $350 fine, he reduced her burden and used the checks at his discretion, saying,
So I'm going to use those 3 checks. That comes to $225. So you're going to owe $125. Okay.
helping her in a way that showed both the courtroom and the world that justice can be fair, yet merciful. The people in the courtroom were moved, and the defendant asked the judge, "Can I give you a hug?" And the judge said, "Come on up here," and hugged her.
Can I give you a hug?
Come on up here.
What started as a tense moment ended with relief and even inspiration. It was another reminder of why Judge Caprio is so loved, not for being lenient, but for being human. From fear and survival to humor and heart, our next case proves that sometimes laughter, even in a courtroom, hides a much deeper story of love and pain.
I said, I'm not paying it. We're going to fight this.
You have to fight him.
Linda Fields walked into Judge Frank Caprio's courtroom with her husband by her side. What started as a routine traffic ticket soon turned into one of the most memorable moments ever seen on Caught in Providence. At first, Linda claimed she was innocent, but then with a playful smile, she pointed to her husband and said,
I got the ticket. He was driving my car. I'm not guilty. He is.
The courtroom burst into laughter. Still, Judge Caprio leaned in gently, asking more questions. That's when the truth came out. Their son had been in a terrible accident, and her husband had been rushing to the hospital. Judge Caprio wanted the full picture. He never rushed to judgment. Instead, he asked with warmth and curiosity, giving Linda the chance to explain. Slowly, the laughter gave way to understanding as the couple revealed the hardship they had faced that day. Linda explained,
Our son was in the hospital, had a very bad car accident, and he was going there 3 times a day.
The turning point came when Judge Caprio asked Linda with his signature wit.
All you did was throw him under the bus.
I'm not throwing myself under.
The courtroom roared with laughter, but beneath the humor, everyone could feel the judge's compassion. Judge Caprio believed justice should never feel cold. To him, every case was more than paperwork. It was a human story. He showed that fairness could exist alongside kindness, and that the law didn't have to be without heart. The world remembers Judge Frank Caprio as more than just a judge. He became a symbol of humanity and justice. What began with humor ended in gentleness. But the next case takes a devastating turn when a grieving mother reveals the unthinkable loss of her son.
I think we can all express our sympathy to you.
Andrea appeared before Judge Frank Caprio in Caught in Providence to address several traffic violations. At first glance, it seemed like a routine case of unpaid tickets. But what unfolded in the courtroom turned into one of the most emotional and unforgettable stories in Judge Caprio's career. Andrea was facing fines amounting to nearly $400. On paper, it looked like negligence, but when Judge Caprio asked her about her situation, Andrea revealed the devastating truth that her son had been murdered. The trauma and grief had completely overtaken her life, making daily responsibilities, including court obligations, incredibly difficult. The court case wasn't about her son's murder investigation itself, which had already been handled separately by law enforcement. Instead, Andrea's appearance was strictly about her traffic violations. However, her testimony about the murder brought the human side of tragedy into the legal process. When Andrea spoke about her son, The courtroom fell silent. She described the pain of losing him to a senseless act of conflict. Her words were raw and filled with grief.
My son was recently killed last year.
Judge Caprio listened with compassion, visibly moved by her strength in simply showing up to court while carrying such an unbearable loss. Andrea's story wasn't about malice or disregard for the law. Her missed payments and tickets stemmed from overwhelming grief and financial struggle after her son's death. She explained that focusing on survival and healing left little energy for anything else. Judge Caprio decided to dismiss Andrea's fines. He acknowledged her suffering, told her that the court's role was not to add to her burden, and extended words of kindness and encouragement. It wasn't just a legal resolution, but a human one. Andrea's story highlighted how tragedy can shape even the most ordinary legal cases. Judge Caprio's empathy reminded people that the law isn't only about punishment, it can also be about humanity. Her son's murder left her broken, and Judge Caprio gave her relief when she needed it most. But our next case is lighter, where one woman's fight came down to nothing more than the time on her car clock.
You can't park there until 10 o'clock, and you violated the city ordinances.
On a regular day in Providence, a simple parking ticket turned into a viral moment. A YouTube video titled Car Clock was uploaded on Tuesday, and within hours, it had already gained more than 600,000 views. The case featured a woman standing before Judge Frank Caprio. She had received a parking ticket, but her reason for contesting it was not what anyone expected. She explained that she believed she was parked legally because her car clock read 10 o'clock. The ticket itself was clear. Her parking time had expired by just a little, but the woman's explanation showed it wasn't intentional. Her car's clock was off, and she genuinely thought she was within the allowed time. She said,
I literally pulled up at 9:58.
The courtroom listened closely to her story. This was the moment everyone waited for. How would Judge Caprio respond? Known for his compassion and sense of humor, he paused, looked at the situation, and considered the human side of the mistake. The woman's motive was simple. There was no scheme, no deception. She only trusted the time on her car clock. It was an honest mistake that anyone could have made. Judge Caprio made his decision. He dismissed the ticket, saying that the final verdict came down to one thing: being human. His choice reminded everyone that fairness isn't only about rules, it's also about understanding. People celebrated Judge Caprio's decision, praising his kindness and ability to see the person behind the ticket. She thought she was safe trusting her car clock, but our next case wasn't just about a ticket. It was about a family who came as immigrants to America.
I am not speak English. I am speak English a little bit.
Okay.
My daughter helped me.
In Providence, Rhode Island, a Syrian refugee family appeared in Judge Frank Caprio's courtroom. They were there over a simple parking ticket. But what unfolded was far more than just a minor case. The father stood nervously before the judge. English was not his first language, and he was unsure how the court would treat him and his family. A small parking violation might seem trivial to most, but for a family that had escaped war and was trying to rebuild their lives, every moment felt heavy. Judge Caprio, known for his kindness, began asking questions to the girl, asking her how much she would charge her mother. At first, she said $50, then said nothing.
Based on her explanation, how much would you charge her?
$50.
$50. So upon reconsideration, how much do you think you want to charge her, if anything?
Nothing.
You want to charge her nothing?
What started as a routine matter quickly turned into something deeper. The father opened up, sharing how grateful they were to be in America. He spoke with emotion about how much he loved his children, loved this country, and how they wanted to give back to the place that had given them safety and hope. The family's motive was simple and pure. They wanted to live peacefully, raise their children, and contribute to their new community. Judge Caprio responded with compassion. He praised them and welcomed to America, and reminded them that America was fortunate to have them. The moment left a lasting impression. The family smiled with relief. The judge's words brought comfort, and viewers across the world were moved by the exchange. Judge Frank Caprio's courtroom touched millions. Beyond tickets and fines, it was about people, their struggles, and his kindness. He proved justice can be both fair and kind, leaving moments that will never be forgotten.